Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to day 21 of 30 Inks 30 Days, the challenge by Ink Journal to use just one ink color and one pen a day. Can be a different pen, but it's always a different ink. So this is the color I chose for myself today. It's Colorverse Arabella, and it's out of Ink Flight 31. So it's a green, which if you compare it with a crayon green, then you know, this would be what I would call a regular green, like that we would color with, more or less. And I could be wrong, but anyway, it's a bright green, and it's a green, but it's a little bit different from what I call traditional green. So let's get right into it. This was the Tomoe River sample, and we'll look at that a little bit more when we get there. Let's see. Okay, we're over here today. This is Tomoe River 68 GSM paper, and here it is. Looked really good, I thought, in the broad nib, and it took 25 seconds to dry. There was a slight smear, so I know it wasn't quite dry, but it was so close. This one is not quite this is from season 4 of the Colorverse inks, and it's not quite as easy to find. It's not like everywhere, but I did find it actually at Gold Spot and Pen Chalet. They were both marked down. It was marked down to $30. It's normally $36 retail. Comes with 65 mils of this Arabella green, and then it has a 15 mil of what's called Anita, and it looks like a mauve color, brushed sort of, I don't even want to say pink, but anyway, I couldn't find samples I don't understand that, but anyway, I couldn't find samples at Goulet. I didn't go looking every single place, but that's what I did find. And then in the stub nib, I found it was taking about 25 seconds to dry. They're about the same in this one, and it shows up real nice in that was good. And then in the fine nib, yeah, it lightens quite a bit, but that's going to happen. And I put flow is very good. First impressions, flow is very good on Tomoe River paper. Yeah, I did enjoy it better on this paper than I did like rhodium. No water resistance, no complexity. Reminds me at first glance of Sitz Krusnock Palm Green. Shading is good. Well, I put shading is good, but I was seeing that more on here, on the Tomoe River paper, than anywhere else. So that was a first impression that I wrote here. And here's the chromatography, pretty straightforward. It moved really quickly. And there's green and then a little bit darker green at the top. That was it. Very interesting. So then on the other Tomoe River paper, 52 GSM, I didn't do too much, just the splatter kind of thing, and that was fun. And a little bit with the stub nib, and then, well, we'll do the reverse. We'll check on the other side when we get there, after we've looked at some of these others, and we'll keep that handy. Okay, so on Rhodia, I felt like it did really good in the broad Yowo nib. 30 seconds to dry. That almost doesn't make sense, but that's what it took for my nib and today, and with the weather we're having. Here in the stub nib, it was dry at 20 seconds. And I was having a little bit of trouble here and there writing with that, even though it was well saturated and the nib, you know, it was flowing, but I just didn't like it on the Rhodia paper. That was just me, I think. And it was my getting used to that nib, holding it right and everything. So you can't really, I wouldn't use that to have a negative thought about the ink. And the fine nib, yeah, I wrote okay, weird. Yeah, I didn't like it as much on this paper. Not happy with fine nib on the Rhodia. Even the stub was so-so. Is this ink dry? Well, I'm not sure. I'm still not sure, because I was actually really paying good attention. I was taking notes with this later on in another notebook, and it was similar kind of paper to this. It wasn't Rhodia, and it was going on nice and wet, so it still, for me, could be that I like a darker ink in a fine nib. That is, because it's plenty dark up here in the broad and the stub nib. So, okay, that's that. And then in the CVS Caliber notebook, the inexpensive little 5x7 notebook, Yeah, I think where it stopped being okay was after the broad nib. It was dry at 30 seconds. And then in the stub nib, it was, the paper ink combination wasn't good for either of these nibs. And that's happened before, just, you know, with other inks, even in this series, so. And then in the fine nib, it was an unhappy face. Oh, but I did put okay in the broad, so not a good ink paper combination. That's pretty straightforward. This paper isn't for every nib and ink or person, so, but it doesn't have much shadowing, and it's real nice in that department. And then on the Rhodia, let's see, very good, no problems there. You can't even hardly see shadowing where it's on heavy. Okay, and then well, back of here it would bleed through. That's not fair, that's splattered. And let's see, I really couldn't see anything that bothered me on the back of here either. Just, I mean, barely any shadowing. No bleed through for sure. Real nice. Okay, let's look at that bath test result. Kind of a natural time to do that. And it is completely typical fountain pen ink, washed away in the bath test. And yesterday's ink was the Colorverse Martian. That beautiful orange, and that cleaned out of the pens and got an A, which means it was super easy to clean out of my pens. It was really easy, so I thought that was good. Okay, let's look at the comparison panel, and then I've got something to pull over closer, because after the panel I want to be sure and remember to show you the little evaluation notebook thing. Okay, hoping we can see this. Okay. Right in the middle is our color of the day, Colorverse Arabella from the 4th season. It had a number too. I don't know if that's an ink number. Must be 51. This is all I could find really, other than some contrasting ones and some different greens to look at that were close to it. And I really did feel like Lamy Green was close to it. It's, I don't like what the camera does to this family of inks, but I say that a lot, so I just, they're all being treated the same. They're all side by side on white with the same light and camera, but still. Okay. Birmingham Summer Jade seems lighter, quite a bit lighter, but it just really seemed to be in that same kind of family. And then when I found 3 Oysters Jong Jade, that had the complexity in it that I really liked. But that on the face kind of reminded me of it. Even without even looking, I had to go, you know, searching for that one because I knew that was going to remind me of it. And then, you know, well, both Summer Jade and Mint Turquoise kind of seem to have more blue in it, and even Montegrappa Green. But at the same time, I felt like they were closer than some of my other greens that I have. Whoops. Oh, here's Opal Green. So, Robert Oster Opal Green. Lighter and a little different tone and everything, but it reminded me. And then darker, we have Monteverde Yosemite Green by tons. I mean, this is really saturated up in the left-hand corner. And Caran d'Ache Vibrant Green. That's interesting that it compared so well to it, but I think it's got quite a bit more going on in the chromatography there. So let's pull out, okay, I think I already had out once the KWZ Green number 5, which I guess just to me, this is green, but that wouldn't be the case for everybody. But if you're familiar with this, even if you've just been on my channel a lot, you've seen KWZ Green number 5 quite a bit. So you see how far these are from that. Even the Lamy Green and the Caran d'Ache Vibrant Green. We're in a different green category here with KWZ. And then I got one out that's quite a bit more, to me, bluish, tealish, I guess. But it's Sitzkreuznock Palm Green. And I thought I had it on the panel, but I don't see it here, so. See how much bluer that is, even though it's a green, and probably looks more so green from a nib. I've written a lot with that one. And then here's a dark kind of a, this is a Robert Oster Peppermint. It's kind of a, I don't want to say forest green, but it's definitely dark like that. And it even is different than Monteverde Yosemite green. So just for contrast, for us to kind of look at it. And that has complexity in it too. Okay. Well, I was about to give you one twice. Okay, so how about lime green, so that we can see where does, you know, Robert Oster green lime, and this is definitely lime green in my eyes. You see how different that is. We're approaching some of the middle part of that jade one, but not quite. You see, it just made me think of that. But this is mainly for contrast. And then one more. Nope. We've got that on the panel. See, that happens. Now I've got a few duplicates. Okay, so I will talk for a minute here about what I thought about the ink using the little pen thing ink swatch plot log. Okay, I said best in the broad nib for me, and Tomoe River paper best. I still stand behind that because the Midori paper did okay with it, but it looked really light, and of course that was the fine nib too. But I liked how it did on that Tomoe River paper really well. I didn't think it was very saturated. That was just my opinion, that it was a little below like average. So I gave it a 4. And then flow, I could be wrong on this, but to me, I guess I just didn't think that it was as flowy as I wanted it to be. So I marked it down, and then I felt like there was some shading, getting it on the right papers. The Tomoe River paper. No bleeding or feathering that I could see. Dry time seemed pretty average from what I look at. Again, very subjective. And overall 5. So to me, based on 1 to 10, 5 is okay. It's good, but it's not great and it's not terrible. So, you know, I said, okay, just not for me. Yeah. But I would not, like, I would write with it. It's just that I would definitely choose. And I'm doing note-taking today. I don't have a lot of letters to write today. I've got a couple of things to gather up and prepare for pen pal letters, but probably be writing those tomorrow. So, okay, so that's that. Let's see how it does on a little trial on the Nick Stewart technique in my visual journal. This one may surprise me. Oh, this is yesterday's. Colorverse Martian, which was very kind of complicated, and all that yellow came out. It looks really interesting, the tree. You know, it looks like it has that, almost like what happens with those palm tree trunks. If you're familiar with them, they do that kind of thing. Very interesting. So let's see, we got to have a couple things. Our water's pretty today. And then I didn't even get rid of it because I've got my clean water over here. I've got, oh well. No, I got to go get a pen out of my bag. I just came back from dog sitting. There, the Lamy was in my go bag, so, okay. And we got our ink sample. So push this over so I can see what I'm doing. A little bit. Okay, and paintbrush. Here we go. I think we'll work right over on this side. Oh, I've moved it far away from me. Oh well. See how I do at a distance. This is working out nice. I like it very, very much. Oh, okay, that does a little bit surprise me. It moved a lot, didn't it? Quickly. Woo. Never know what I want to do. Maybe do a little bit more up in the sky, and then I want to do like a, want to take the broad nib and with the pen, the Serendipity, and see what I can do. If it's not too late. I don't think it is. No, it isn't. Okay, good. That's nice. Okay. Now that, wow, making a mess with that. Ew. Okay. I had to recently move over my little jar with my Q-tips because I'm always making a mess in this cap. I don't know what's going on. I think I have cut it wrong, so it's dragging across the nib differently. I'm going to go back to my old one that I was using. Okay, I better get some detail in while I have a chance. Oh, look at that. That's neat. Today I wanted to try something goofy, but the harder I try, usually though, it really isn't about trying. It's about seeing what happens, but let's see. I did want to see if I could actually make it look like the hanging stuff from the palm trees, but who knows? That might be a little advanced. And just try to be more sloppy about it. That way it doesn't, it's more likely to come out. Whoop. Yep. Might be nice if some of that was connected in some way. Yeah, and it does tend to come back and do that by itself anyway, because... Okay. Huh. All right, let me just show you that part. It's coming together pretty good. That's nice. Put some water down below. This is surprising me. Whoops. Okay, there it goes. There she goes. We got some roots. I didn't expect this to do quite this much even. I had different expectations. Huh, I don't mind that. That's kind of cool. All right, let's see if there's any water left up here in the... Oh, I don't like how that line looks, and I'm kind of surprised. Huh. That's really weird. What's going on with that? That's funny. I wouldn't have expected that based on chromatography or anything. It looks like a big mistake. Oh well, that's why I do this, because it's so interesting what happens. You just never know. You literally don't know what you're going to get. And you think you know what you're going to get, and then you come back after it's dried, and it's a whole different story. So, okay, that's it for today on this part. We'll look at it tomorrow. Which, speaking of tomorrow, let's look at what's for tomorrow. Here. It's another green, so don't adjust your camera. It's going to be Colorverse Allen Hills 84001 for day 22, and that's Sunday, tomorrow, September 22nd. So it's another green, and then we're completely finished with that ink flight, and we'll go on to some that I had in my collection of samples that I've wanted to profile for quite a while. I've got to check and make sure I didn't already do that one. I don't know what's given me that strange feeling, but I always do that anyway when I go and just check things. So this will be for tomorrow, and I wonder what you thought of today's. It's a pretty ink. It really is. And I don't have to have an ink look great in a fine nib because I don't use it all that much. So, I mean, I'm almost always in a broad nib. And if not, I'm in a stub nib. So I was pretty happy with it as a daily writing ink for today. So I'd love to hear what you think. And by looking at them side by side, we can see that tomorrow's is not the same green at all. We're gonna get closer into some of those others that we were looking at today, the lime green or green lime. So that's it for today, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Thank you very much for following along with this journey. And I hope yours is going really well, excellently as well. Bye for now.